It's so sad to witness that he don't got his grandmother. You feel me? So it's like, for you to talk about somebody baby eyes being far apart, it's okay.
Sean, sweetheart, I was not clowning your child, my grandchild. It's time to just say what it is so that you can stop being embarrassed and harboring it. Tag me. I'm not seeing about no baby. I don't give a I'm 99 years old. No, none of that. That is no longer my grandbaby.
Karlissa just dropped a bomb so heavy it rattled the entire Blueface Chrisean universe. Not a rumor, not a subtweet, not a random internet whisper, a full emotional confession about Junior's health that hit harder than any diss track ever could. And before anyone could breathe, blink, or refresh a feed, Chrisean burst in swinging with her own response, turning the whole situation into a digital tug-of-war so messy it makes the Kardashians look like a quiet suburban family doing yoga. Screenshots, shaky livestream clips, suspicious pauses, and tearful tones. Every angle of this story is leaking like the roof of a drama-filled reality show house during hurricane season. People swear Karlissa didn't just speak, she cracked. And when she did, she exposed something raw, painful, and completely unexpected. Something that left fans frozen mid-scroll and enemies suddenly quiet and Chrisean. She didn't wait. She didn't soften. She didn't blink. She jumped in with her side, her truth, her smoke, addressing allegations faster than Twitter could type the word exposed. All I'm gonna say is this: whatever you thought you knew about loyalty, motherhood, and the Junior saga, throw it in the trash. Because the clips leaking right now show a story that's deeper, darker, and more emotionally explosive than anyone was ready for. This scandal just got real, and nobody's coming out untouched. The storm began the moment Karlissa opened her mouth and let the world see a version of herself that wasn't the loud, sarcastic critic, but a mother who looked tired, drenched in worrying, and suddenly stripped of every protective armor she ever threw online. People swear her voice shook, her eyes went glassy, and for the first time in this entire never-ending saga, she didn't sound like she came to throw shade, she sounded like she came to tell the truth. The truth about Junior. The truth about fear. And the truth she claimed she's been carrying like a weight that never sleeps. Screenshots show her saying the doctors raised concerns nobody saw coming. Something about Junior's development, symptoms, checkups, questions that wouldn't leave her alone. She didn't accuse anyone. She didn't scream. She didn't throw nuclear blame the way social media expected her to. She just laid out a story that made timelines turn silent. The kind of silence people feel when the drama suddenly stops being tea and starts sounding like life. A few viewers even admitted they didn't know whether to scroll past or sit still and listen. Because for once, Karlissa wasn't dragging someone, she was unraveling. But here's where the entire narrative took a hairpin turn straight into chaos. The moment she mentioned Chrisean. Not with rage, not with mockery, but with a tone that sounded tired and bruised, like she'd been holding back questions that only one woman could answer. She expressed that Junior's health mystery wasn't just a medical curveball. It was tied to a history of confusion, DNA drama, and emotional tug-of-war that shook their entire family tree. She didn't point fingers. She didn't label villains. She just said the stress alone could break anyone with a beating heart. The clip spread like wildfire. Comment sections morphed into emotional tornadoes. One side defended Karlissa with a strange new softness, saying motherhood rewires you, humbles you, forces you to confront truths you don't want. The other side accused her of performing tragedy for sympathy, insisting everything she said was dipped in shadowed intention. And then you had the third category, the detectives. The ones who began digging up old messages, leaked audios, and interviews where medical questions about Junior were brushed off like background noise. Suddenly, the dots connected in ways nobody wanted to admit they'd missed. It didn't take long before the spotlight pressure rolled toward Chrisean. People expected her to ignore it or respond with the usual fire and flame clapbacks. But instead, she jumped up with a tone that was half steel, half fake. No jokes, no erratic spirals. Just a woman defending her name, her decisions, and found the child at the center of a storyline that was never meant to be entertainment. Chrisean insisted the allegations were exaggerated, misinterpreted, twisted through emotional filters and family bias. She said Junior's health had been monitored, addressed, cared for, and never hidden. If anything, she claimed the problem wasn't his checkups. It was the circus surrounding his identity. Online reactors dug trenches on both sides. Some called Karlissa brave, vulnerable, human in a storyline that usually treats everyone like caricatures built for midnight clips. Others called Chrisean equally strong, standing firm against whispers that made motherhood sound like a trial. The internet hasn't been this split since the dress that was either blue or gold. Fans debated accident versus intention, concern versus shade, truth versus performance. Everyone had an interpretation. And every interpretation came with screenshots they believed doubled as evidence. But the darkest twist of all is that for a few minutes, the drama wasn't funny. It wasn't spicy. It wasn't entertainment. It was uncomfortable. Because somewhere between motherhood instincts, online triggers, and months of bitter history, a real child's health sat at the center of adults who haven't agreed on a single topic since the dawn of this saga. The elephant in the room suddenly didn't feel like a scandal. It felt like a plea for clarity, a plea for calm, a plea for two women who swear they love the same baby to stop treating each other like enemies in a courtroom. Of course, social media isn't built for empathy. Within hours, the mess resurfaced. Conspiracy threats suggested Karlissa's emotional reveal was a hidden strike, a guilt-trapped accusation implying negligence. Others swore Chrisean's defensive energy meant she was sitting on secrets. The crowd demanded receipts like they were owed medical files, lab reports, pediatric charts, proof of every doctor visit, every prescription, every concern. Because the online world doesn't care about privacy, it cares about winning arguments, but strip away the noise. And here's the uncomfortable truth no one wanted to acknowledge. Karlissa showed fear, and Chrisean showed protectiveness. One wanted answers, the other wanted respect. Their words collided in the most explosive way possible because their relationship is built on old bruises, past betrayal, and emotional landmines. When you throw a child into that mix, especially one tied to family ego, scandal headlines, DNA confusion, and public judgment, emotions aren't calm. They're volcanic. Every clip of Karlissa's voice cracking became a TikTok duet. Every sentence of Chrisean's rebuttal got stitched into A-tangle breakdowns. Commentators became armchair pediatricians, therapists, and legal analysts diagnosing a baby they've never met, psychoanalyzing women they don't know, and picking sides like the story is a pay-per-view match. Drama pages kept posting countdown clocks. Karlissa responds again. Chrisean going live. New allegations incoming. But the strangest part of this saga is that for the first time, both women sounded less like rivals and more like humans who went through far too much conflict to communicate normally. Karlissa's shaking voice didn't sound hateful. It sounded terrified of getting it wrong. Chrisean's clipped tone didn't sound defensive. It sounded exhausted from being accused. Two versions of pain clashing under a spotlight that only wants spectacle. People forget that while the internet treats Junior like a trending topic, these women look at him like a heart. A heartbeat they worrying about. A heartbeat they want to protect. A heartbeat they don't want swallowed by gossip threads dissecting every movement. And whether you love Karlissa or can't stand her, whether you defend Chrisean or critique her every step, this one leaked moment peeled away their online personas and revealed something raw than all the scandals combined: fear. Because when mothers speak about health, it never comes from a shallow place. Even if history turned them into rivals. Even if the world forgot how ugly the tension has been. Even if they've dragged each other across the internet more times than anyone can count. Behind the static of anger, bruised pride, and headline wars, both women reacted like humans who fear losing something they cherish. And that's what made the leak hit different. This story didn't spiral because of insults. It spiraled because the truth suddenly touched something fragile. Something that doesn't belong on live streams. Something that didn't deserve to be turned into content. Yet here it is, dissected piece by millions who couldn't look away. And now the question that hangs like smoke over the entire situation is this: did Karlissa expose pain? Or ignite war? And did Chrisean defend dignity? Or hide deeper wounds? One confession, one rebuttal, and Junior's name suddenly sits in the center of a hurricane that no algorithm can slow down. The moment Karlissa's emotional reveal hit the feeds, the internet mutated into something unrecognizable. People weren't just reacting, they were excavating. Old livestream clips resurfaced like fossils, tiny facial expressions, quick mentions of doctor visits. Comments that once seemed harmless suddenly stretched into evidence. TikTok narrators whispered theories like they were decoding encrypted CIA files. Reddit threads looked like virtual war rooms filled with strangers drawing arrows, highlighting timestamps, and connecting dots that maybe weren't even dots to begin with. Nobody wanted to admit they were speculating, but everyone wanted to feel like they had front row seats to a story bigger than gossip. Then came the wave of celebrity responses. One Zeus personality posted, "Health isn't clickbait," instantly starting a civil war in the comments. Another influencer defended Karlissa, saying mothers don't shake like that over nothing. Meanwhile, a third voice claimed Chrisean's tone wasn't defensive, it was protective, like someone tired of having her motherhood audited by the internet. Celebrities love chaos as long as it skips their doorstep, and this situation was serving tension on a silver platter. Every public figure with an opinion jumped into the ring like they were auditioning for a scandal panel show. But the memes. Oh, the memes skyrocketed. Not mocking the health topic, no one wanted smoke for crossing that line, but dissecting the swirl of accusations, emotional reactions, live stream pauses, and side eyes. A photo of Karlissa staring at her phone got captioned, "When you're scared the internet found your old receipts." A slowed-down clip of Chrisean pressing her lips together turned into the new holding back a paragraph meme. People made comedy out of everything except the medical concern itself, because some parts of a scandal are sacred. And even the noisiest pages understood that. Still, the wildest twist wasn't the jokes. It was the suspicion that the emotional leak wasn't just a confession, but a signal flare. Some claimed Karlissa cracked because she'd been feeling dismissed for too long. Others argued that stress crept in the second she realized a child's well-being had been overshadowed by DNA debates, broken relationships, and ongoing public tension. Suddenly, what once looked like petty feud behavior transformed into something layered: family wounds, generational hurt, unresolved conversations. And to women who've spent months fighting battles that never had referees, when Chrisean responded, social media expected volcanic rage. The kind she's famous for: explosive tone, raw emotion, and zero filter. Instead, she walked in sounding steady, strained, but strangely firm. She reminded everyone that privacy isn't weakness, that medical specifics don't belong in comment sections, and that motherhood isn't a storyline. Some applauded her, saying she handled it more maturely than the internet deserved. Others accused her of being too vague, interpreting every missing detail as hidden guilt. Because online, if you don't reveal everything, people assume you're hiding something, and silence gets treated like confession. Commentators dropped comparisons the way gossip pages drop red arrows on screenshots. One person wrote, "This feels like Beyoncé versus Solange in the elevator." Except nobody knows who threw the first emotional punch. Another said, "This is deeper than Tristan scandals. This is maternal terrain." And that's different. Even those who typically dismissed Karlissa as dramatic started rewatching her clips with softer eyes. And those who usually defended Chrisean became hyperprotective, swatting away theories like gnats. It was a rare moment when both sides found sympathy, not for each other, but for the weight of motherhood under public inspection, and while fans were distracted by the emotional earthquake. Content creators began diagnosing the deeper root. They pointed out how Junior became the unintended symbol of everything unresolved: betrayal, confusion, generational trauma, miscommunication, pride, and painful history. He represented both hope and heartbreak, the innocents caught inside a ring where adults have been fighting too long to remember their family. That realization hit people like ice water, no matter which woman they supported. Social media had treated a child's world like episodic entertainment. Karlissa's tearful reveal was replayed so often that her inflections became discussion points. Did she sound scared? Was that guilt? Was she asking for help? Meanwhile, Chrisean's response was chopped into sentences laid over moody music, with text overlays suggesting fatigue, frustration, or emotional exhaustion. Neither woman got the benefit of privacy. Their voices morphed into viral artifacts, looped endlessly by strangers eating popcorn on silent mode. No one was there to interpret tone fairly. The crowd just wanted plot advancement. Then things escalated. A rumor broke that a family member allegedly urged both women to stop speaking publicly about Junior's health altogether. The internet didn't know if it was true, but it made sense. Some situations are too delicate for microphone wars. People started posting, "Protect that baby," "Stop turning motherhood into PR battles," and not everything is content. For once, the comment sections weren't cheering for blood. They were begging for peace, but tension doesn't melt that easily. Past grudges were still sitting on the table like unpaid tabs. Old clips reminded everyone how fragile trust had become. Karlissa and Chrisean have built a digital battlefield with enough history to fill an encyclopedia. Their dynamic has never existed in grayscale. It's always been sharp edges, smoking triggers, and public opinion lines drawn like battle strategies. So when something as serious as health entered their story, people started wondering if this was the moment the feud broke, or the moment it snapped entirely. Because here's what nobody admits out loud: when two women have clashed so hard, so often, over family, identity, and loyalty, every sentence feels suspicious. Every emotion gets questioned. Every tear gets dissected. So one mother's pain sounds like accusation. Another mother's defense sounds like confession. It's the curse of public fractures. Nobody hears you clearly when they've already chosen how they want to view you. And when billions are listening, the chance of being misunderstood multiplies like wildfire. Eventually, viewers turn the entire conflict into symbolic warfare. They weren't just picking sides, they were projecting their own family traumas onto the story. People who grew up in fractured households saw themselves in the tension. Those who lost trust in relatives saw echoes of betrayal in every line. Comment sections became therapy sessions disguised as scandal forums. Suddenly, this wasn't Karlissa versus Chrisean. It was the universal clash of mothers fighting fear while handling unresolved wounds that social media turned into spectacle. And the worst part? No matter who tried to defend either woman, someone else found a way to twist the narrative back into rivalry. One apology became damage control. One clarification turned into strategic PR. Even silence was labeled suspicious. Both women were trapped in a spotlight that demanded explanations instead of empathy. The internet rarely loves mothers. It loves mistakes, emotion, and headlines. And this moment delivered all three. Still, buried inside all the noise was the real shocker. Nobody hated either woman enough to ignore the raw humanity that leaked through those confessions. For the first time, the timeline didn't feel like a boxing ring. It felt like a funeral for all the petty battles that once felt entertaining. Something softened. Something cracked. Something reminded everyone that family fights aren't gladiator matches. They're messy, painful, tangled, and terrifying, especially when a child's health becomes part of the narrative. The memes slowed. The loud voices quieted. And the argument shifted from who's right to can this be fixed? Because if social media is good at anything, it's chaos. But even chaos knows when to step back and let heartbreak speak for itself. And heartbreak was everywhere, in Karlissa's trembling voice, in Chrisean's sharp defense, in the comment sections wrestling with sympathy instead of insults. The scandal didn't escalate because people wanted drama. It escalated because nobody knew what to feel. And confusion is louder than outrage. So the saga rolled forward like a slow-motion avalanche, dragging questions with it. Was Karlissa warning the world, or unloading a burden? Was Chrisean covering wounds, or setting the record straight? And if both women were acting from love, why did it feel like war? As days passed, the initial shock melted into something heavier: reflection. Screens that once replayed clips for entertainment now carried threads asking if anyone truly understood the cost of this saga. What started as a digital storm of speculation turned into a mirror held against two women who have been bruised by conflict for far too long. The aftermath wasn't loud, it was tense. And silence can feel louder than fireworks when everyone is waiting for the next explosion. Karlissa stayed quieter than usual, at least for a while. The internet expected her to triple down, throw sharp jabs, or spit more cryptic lines. But instead, she pulled back, almost like the emotional reveal drained more out of her than anyone realized. Some said she looked like someone who wasn't trying to win, but someone trying to breathe. Others theorized she was weighing the consequences of speaking on something bigger than petty rivalry. When motherhood walks into the conversation, pride turns fragile. And Karlissa's vulnerability suddenly looked like a woman trying to guard a child, not guard her image. Meanwhile, Chrisean, usually fiery, explosive, and quick with responses, also shifted her tone. She defended herself, yes, but she didn't escalate. She didn't belittle, mock, or throw gasoline back into the flame. She said her piece, drew a boundary, and left it there. Her silence afterward felt less like dismissal and more like tiredness. The kind that comes from feeling watched, judged, and misunderstood for months. It spoke without words. I'm still learning. I'm still trying. And strange as it sounds, people felt that the internet, for once, didn't run the story into the ground. The tone of comments changed. People asked if the situation had gone too far. If Junior had become collateral for a feud that never should have grown teeth. Users who normally chased drama asked for compassion. Others who'd once loved adding fuel said they were stepping back. Even gossip pages, the same ones that screenshot every eyelid twitch, started adding disclaimers about empathy, privacy, and protection. Nobody openly admitted guilt, but you could see the shift. A collective pause, like the audience realized it might have crossed a line. In that quiet, clarity grew. Fans started acknowledging that both women have lived years drenched in public conflict. That family fractures shape people differently. That motherhood under cameras and comment sections can distort even the simplest intentions. They noticed the tremor in Karlissa's voice, the strain in Chrisean's face, and understood that no livestream can hold the full story behind either one. Because hurt spoken online doesn't always come from hate. Sometimes it comes from confusion, history, or love that doesn't know how to speak softly anymore. And while the rumors cooled, the consequences kept unfolding. Pages that once edited clips for shock value began posting messages reminding everyone that speculation around health, especially a child's, should be treated gently. Influencers who had built hours of commentary content stepped back and admitted neither woman deserved to be buried under assumptions. Live reactors who usually hunt conflict paused before resharing footage. The scandal wasn't fun anymore. It became a lesson. One nobody asked for, but everyone needed. Kim Kardashian comparisons hit again, but not for spectacle. Commentators said, "This feels like one real." Families break on TV and suddenly, viewers remember there are real hearts behind the drama. Others compared the moment to viral clips of reality stars breaking mid-scene. Reminders that emotional collapse is never scripted. That somewhere behind the performance lies a person who can only withstand so much pressure before cracking. Fans spoke not as spectators, but as humans who recognized a familiar breaking point. Karlissa's image shifted, if only slightly. People stopped calling her dramatic and started calling her overwhelmed. They said she sounded like someone who had been trying to carry explanations without knowing the right way to say them. And when Chrisean responded, they heard a woman trying to fight back shame and exhaustion, not trying to score points. The feud that once looked like a battlefield suddenly looked like a wound, one that both had been reopening every time the internet asked for more storyline. The biggest aftermath wasn't recorded on camera. It sat in the comment sections, where strangers admitted their opinions softened after hearing both sides. Moments where fans said, "I still don't know who's right, but I hope they both find peace, not a truce, not a winner, just peace." Social media rarely allows space for nuance, but this moment demanded it. Because when a child's well-being accidentally becomes headline material, even the loudest audiences learn to whisper, and yet, even through calm, curiosity never died. People wondered if conversations were happening offline, calls between family members, doctor updates, attempts to close the gap that years of hostility carved open. Speculators whispered that maybe, beneath the emotional debris, a bridge might someday be rebuilt. Or maybe familiar wounds run too deep. Nobody knows. All they knew was that something changed after that reveal. Not a ceasefire, but an awakening. Weeks later, the narrative wasn't being dragged through feeds, but it still lingered in the air like unfinished business. Karlissa's trembling voice replayed in minds, reminding everyone that anger and pain often share the same bloodstream. Chrisean's steady response played in parallel, highlighting that defense doesn't always mean denial. Sometimes it means "please stop hurting me." And if the internet learned anything, it's that motherhood isn't a storyline meant for debate. It's messy, personal, emotional, and raw. Public perception of both women softened, not because they changed, but because audiences finally saw the human core beneath their rivalry. Mothers protecting a child in different ways, shaped by different scars. The scandal that once felt like a battlefield became an unintentional mirror that reflected unresolved grief, fear, trauma, and complicated love. No one walked away crowned. No one walked away condemned. They walked away seen. Perhaps for the first time, and though viewers will always speculate, gossip, and circle back to drama like moths to a flame, something about this moment aged the story. Made it heavier. Made it harder to mock. People still watch for the next development, still whisper rumors, still keep their eyes glued to hint drops. But with caution now, they know the line. Or at least, they pretend to, because the saga isn't finished. Not even close. There are still unanswered questions, still shadows in the timeline, still emotions that could erupt if the wrong words land at the wrong time. Junior's name will never fully disappear from the narrative, but perhaps it will be protected more carefully now. Perhaps the women on opposite sides of this long conflict will eventually find neutral ground. Or maybe they won't. Maybe time will heal. Maybe silence will. Maybe nothing will. But one thing stands tall in the aftermath. The world saw two people who weren't built for perfection. Two people stitched with flaws, fear, and exhaustion, carrying responsibilities they never asked to perform under stage lights. When the internet peeled back the performance layer, it found humanity messy, emotional, and complicated. And if this story taught anything, it's that real life doesn't fit neatly into villain and hero boxes. Sometimes there are just fractured families trying to make sense of pain while the public listens too closely. When the dust settled, the timeline didn't feel like a battleground anymore. It felt like an unfinished letter, one that might someday be continued, corrected, or closed. For now, all anyone can do is wait. Because beneath all the live streams, all the debates, all the speculations, a child's well-being remains the quiet center. And that truth is heavier than any scandal. And that, right there, is where we land. A story that started as just another viral tug-of-war flipped into something deeper, something that left timelines quieter than usual and reminded everyone that even the loudest scandals have real hearts beating inside them. But now it's your turn to speak. Drop your thoughts in the comments like you're testifying on the stand. Was Karlissa crying out for understanding? Or pulling back a curtain nobody was ready to peek behind? Did Chrisean defend with dignity? Or shut the door on questions the internet still wants answered? Tell us everything, every theory, every angle, every emotional reaction. And listen, if you held your breath through this entire breakdown, go ahead and exhale by destroying that like button like it owes you overdue child support. Smash subscribe with the same force social media slam the replay button on every leaked clip. Turn on notifications like you're waiting for part 2 of a truth that clearly isn't done unraveling. Because here, scandals don't sleep, they reload. And every time you blink, another jaw-dropper slips into the spotlight just begging to be decoded. We dive into the rumors, the receipts, the emotional wreckage, and the viral eruptions that prove celebrity life ain't glitter, it's gasoline. And trust me, this saga isn't finished. There are still whispers in the shadows, unspoken confessions waiting to spill, and unresolved tension bubbling under everything these women say. So stick around, stay tapped in, and keep your eyes open because the next earthquake in this story could shake the internet even harder. This has been Fame Flaws, where private cracks become public epics. And nothing stays quiet for long. Nothing stays quiet for long.